seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never
some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol.
And Canelo, man, I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices.
Several respected figures within the boxing community have stepped forward to openly accuse Canelo Alvarez of using performance-enhancing drugs ahead of his highly anticipated fight against Terence Crawford. The allegations focus heavily on his recent, dramatic muscle growth, which many believe cannot be achieved naturally, especially given his age and the time frame involved. Adding fuel to the fire, David Benavidez has publicly questioned why Canelo consistently avoids facing him if he truly believes in his own abilities. Benavidez didn't stop there. He pointed out that not one, not two, but 5 members of Canelo's own training camp have previously tested positive for banned substances. His argument is clear: if the people around Canelo have been caught, it's not unreasonable to suspect that Canelo himself may be part of a larger culture of doping inside the camp. These remarks have intensified the cloud of suspicion surrounding the fight, casting doubt over the legitimacy of the upcoming clash.
Greatest Mexican boxing fights of all time, in my opinion. So I feel like I'm 100% confident in myself. If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me. Especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never got off
You think he's on steroids?
Of course. How does 5?
You saw De La Hoya
How do 5 people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids? Right. You know what I mean? All those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
I seen Eddie Reynoso on my fight, so we made a joke. He said like he came to watch me the fight and shit. And then they're like, "Oh, you think he's?" In my head, I'm like, "What do you think Eddie Reynoso's thinking about? Are we gonna fight David Benavidez after seeing this fight?" In his head, Eddie Reynoso was like, "Fuck no, we not fighting him."
Yeah, of course. Yeah, honestly, I don't blame Canelo. It's fucked up because there's a lot of money.
It's not even about the money. It's not about the
Yeah, but okay,
100 million, dude. You think
But
you
he-
kidding me?
The first step when you're a fucking warrior, bro, the only thing you think about is money. I've never thought about money. I've been smart. I'm negotiating my shit. But it's always a prize, bro. It's always, if I go out there and beat Canelo, bro, I'm a legend. You know what I mean? That I'm gonna live forever in boxing as a legend. That means way more to me than any type of.
And I think that separates you too, David. I admire that shit about you. I was like that. How much you give me?
Yeah.
and not to just bypass him. Shout out to Morel as well.
Yeah, shout out to
The gym run by Eddie Reynoso, Canelo's longtime trainer, has now become the focal point of a major controversy, with critics directly accusing Reynoso of being the one who provides fighters in his stable with performance-enhancing substances. The list of fighters who have been linked to this gym and have tested positive is disturbingly long, and Canelo's name is one of the most notable on it, having already faced steroid allegations twice in the past. This has led many to question the integrity of the training environment within Reynoso's camp. Observers are pointing out the suspicious pattern: multiple fighters from the same gym failing tests, combined with Canelo's ongoing, rapid muscle gain, creates the impression that something more than elite training is at play. As the Crawford fight approaches, the scrutiny over how Canelo was able to build size and strength at such a pace is intensifying.
Serious accusations about his gym. And the accusations are that people, or at least the implications are, that he is the one that is providing performance-enhancing drugs or is in some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol 2 times. For Fahim Satur, I'll say that he did it 2 times, even though I think it was for the same fight. But Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for clenbuterol 2 times. You have Luis Nery, who had tested positive, but I think Luis Nery tested positive before he was with Eddie Reynoso. Then you have Ryan Garcia, who popped dirty after he left Eddie Reynoso and went over to Derek James. And then you have Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez popped dirty while he was with Eddie Reynoso, but at the time he was still allowed to fight. You also clearly see that you have an issue with the fight that's coming up with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, in that you have one guy that tested positive and you have another guy that looks like he's using in order to get up and continue to climb up weight classes. You know, at a certain point in time, and this is something that Rolly Romero has said, certain point in time, your body just doesn't do that. At a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do it. I'm 6'2", 200, and should weigh about 210. Closer to 250, but I should weigh about 210. I'm not gonna get up. If I was 210 now at 50 years old, I'm not. If by 55 years old, I'm not. The only way I'm gonna get up to 260 of muscle is.
Experts familiar with athletic physiology note that building substantial muscle mass naturally becomes increasingly difficult once an athlete is in their 30s. Despite this, Canelo's current build is considerably more muscular and defined than it has been in previous years, a change that seems to have happened quickly. This observation has only heightened suspicions, especially given the doping history associated with Reynoso's gym. The combination of age, physique transformation, and a controversial training camp creates the perfect storm for speculation. Many fans and analysts are left wondering whether this transformation is truly the result of hard work and nutrition, or if banned substances, quietly and strategically, are playing a role in shaping the outcome of one of the sport's biggest events.
For a 30-year-old, right? You remember, your body grows. Men's body can grow in height and length up until you're to the extreme in your 20s. By the time you're 20, your height and all that stuff is there, right? Your height and your length. In your mid-20s, you know, by the time you're 29, your musculature is pretty much there. It gets harder to gain and put on muscle after 30. So Canelo Alvarez is about to fight a guy that is going to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Joe Rogan, one of the most widely recognized voices in combat sports commentary, has added his perspective to the conversation, and it's one that cannot be easily ignored. Rogan, who has spent decades analyzing athletes and understanding the science behind physical performance, openly questioned the plausibility of Canelo's transformation. He stressed that natural muscle growth slows dramatically with age, making rapid gains at Canelo's stage in life scientifically improbable. Rogan's point wasn't just an opinion, it was based on physiological fact. For him, this kind of transformation isn't just rare, it's nearly impossible without some form of outside enhancement. Given Rogan's massive audience and credibility in discussing elite athletic performance, his doubts carry significant weight, prompting even casual fans to reconsider their views.
Canelo, man, I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices. But I'm a Triple G fan, so I'm a say that ahead of time. I just like
There's
Triple
a
G.
lot of money on the line, and if I could get away with it, I would do it as well.
Some tainted beefs.
I think, well, he definitely got busted once for something, but it could have been from tainted beef. We don't know. But it also could be that, we should probably leave them alone and let them do whatever they want to do. Do you want to see Manny Pacquiao fight or not? Right? I want to see him juiced up, fighting at 45 years of age, coming in with a full six-pack, lighting people.
As fight night approaches, the noise surrounding potential steroid use has only grown louder. Within both fan circles and professional commentary, there's an underlying belief that it wouldn't be surprising if Canelo were using banned substances. The reasoning often cited is that Canelo has access to world-class resources, state-of-the-art facilities, expert nutritionists, medical specialists, and advanced recovery tools. In a high-stakes environment where every competitive edge matters, critics argue that the temptation to take shortcuts is not just possible, but likely. They believe the infrastructure surrounding Canelo offers him the perfect opportunity to use such substances while minimizing the risk of detection, creating a situation where suspicion thrives.
What up, everybody? It's your boy MC from MCTV. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo Alvarez is on steroids right now as we speak and is going to be fully juiced with something that hasn't even hit the market yet. Think about it, he's pretty much a billionaire.
Floyd Mayweather, never shy about expressing his opinions, especially on rivals, has been vocal about his skepticism toward Canelo's clean record. Mayweather has accused the boxing industry of turning a blind eye to Canelo's alleged PED use, claiming that there's a double standard at play. According to him, certain fighters receive heavy scrutiny, while others, like Canelo, are protected due to their commercial appeal and status as major draws for promoters and broadcasters. Floyd argues that this isn't just a matter of competitive fairness, it's also a safety issue. Steroid use, in his view, is dangerous for the athletes involved and damaging to the integrity of the sport. His bluntness on the subject ensures that the debate remains in the spotlight.
We don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids. They don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights.
In the build-up to this fight, the accusations haven't been limited to analysts or insiders. Fans themselves have become deeply divided. Supporters of Crawford have questioned the legitimacy of Canelo's size, strength, and recent performances, while Canelo's fans have countered by pointing fingers at Crawford's own endurance and ability to compete at a higher weight. The verbal back and forth has reached such intensity that both fighters have publicly agreed to undergo strict PED testing throughout their training camps. This wasn't done merely to satisfy regulatory requirements, it was a move intended to reassure a skeptical public. The fact that such measures were necessary speaks volumes about how much trust has eroded in the sport.
Canelo and Crawford are strictly and consistently doing random data testing in order to silence each other's fanbase and their critics ahead of their showdown this September. Now, despite this being a normal thing, the gravity of this fight brings in more attention to their test results, partly due to the fact that suspicion regarding both men have been up as of lately, namely Crawford's sudden bulk and jump to 168 and his close relationship with Snack and Victor Conti, and of course the recent PED scandals being associated with Team Canelo, as well as him once testing positive for clenbuterol 7 years ago due to contaminated meat. With that said, both men have been doing random testing since June and will undergo strict and consistent random tests up until they finally meet next month. Now, it's worth remembering that despite all the recent allegations for Canelo and Crawford, both fighters have been consistent.
Canelo's physical transformation has been nothing short of remarkable. In the earlier stages of his career, he was leaner, quicker, and moved like a natural welterweight, relying on speed and agility to win fights. Today, he's built like a powerhouse, overpowering opponents, and dominating physically in ways he never did before. While some attribute this evolution to years of elite training, strict diet, and disciplined preparation, others question whether such drastic changes, especially later in a career, can be purely natural. The contrast between then and now has become a central talking point among critics.
But I think you gotta lean more towards Canelo, because like I said before, he been putting big guys out and down, and Canelo not even really a 68 pounder. He probably really should be at 60 maybe, and he been hurting these guys. I think he be dropping these guys and things like that. So, and them guys be way bigger than him come fight night. I know that for sure. They be probably close to 200 pounds, and he dropping those guys like that. So, I don't know. It's gonna be a great fight. The fans want to see it. So, so be it. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight. At like 60, or like at least at 60, just to get his body, the feeling of somebody a little bit bigger, and things like that. I know when you go up in weight, you gotta, develop that power and not develop the power, but like put that muscle on and be heavier and things like that. So he might not want to take a fight because he's trying to build up right now. But I think he should, just to stay sharp and that way he don't have like a long layoff or anything.
Nico Ali Walsh, grandson of the legendary Muhammad Ali, has weighed in on how Terence Crawford is preparing for the size and strength disadvantage he'll face. According to Walsh, Crawford isn't approaching this challenge blindly. He's been sparring regularly with much larger fighters, replicating the physical pressure and power that Canelo brings to the ring. Walsh sees this as a smart, calculated strategy, turning what could be a major disadvantage into a point of preparation. For him, the difference between good fighters and great ones lies in how they adapt to obstacles, and Crawford's camp is clearly preparing for every possible scenario.
People with Canelo before Canelo's last fight, but then after Canelo's last fight, it seems like it's more 50-50 now. So everything is just the build up for that fight is just going to be absolutely magnetizing. Like that fight, it's garnered so much more buzz after Canelo's last fight, and Bud is Bud. He's one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. He is one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. So it's going to be a fight. It's going to be awesome to watch.
Have you sparred any of them?
I haven't sparred Bud yet. I haven't been in Canelo's camp. I've met Canelo a few times. I love Canelo's team. Canelo's one of my favorite fighters. He's been my favorite fighter for the longest time. But you know, I have to be Team Bud because me and Bud are cool, and I have so much belief in Bud, and I know who he is as a fighter. He is one of the greats. So he could do anything, you know, he wants.
And being around both of them and seeing how they work and train and things like that, what makes both of them the fighters they are, in your opinion?
I've watched Bud, so for Bud in particular, he's calm in everything he does, and that kind of calm is scary to watch because it shows experience. You can see that he's been doing this for decades. You can see it with his shadow boxing. You can see it.
Veteran boxing journalist Dan Rafael has offered his insight into why Crawford is taking this fight in the first place. For Rafael, it's about something far greater than money. It's about cementing a legacy. Crawford wants to be remembered as a fighter who took on the biggest challenges, even at great personal risk. This is not a fight arranged for safety or comfort, it's one designed to test the limits of his skill, endurance, and mental toughness. But Rafael also notes the enormity of the challenge ahead. To beat Canelo, Crawford will have to fight nearly flawlessly, as any mistake could be costly.
I think Terence Crawford is a marvelous boxer, arguably the best in the world, pound for pound. But can you hurt Canelo? If you can't hurt him, I have no doubt he can outbox him. My issue is, if you can't hurt him, what kind of a challenge can you truly pose? What do you say to that?
No, that's a great point. I mean, here's the thing. Canelo Alvarez has a historically great chin. Now, I go way back when he first came to the United States and started boxing, and he found himself on an HBO pay-per-view undercard years and years ago, fighting against the older brother of the great Miguel Cotto. His name was Jose Miguel Cotto, and he had gotten a ton of hype. He had signed with Golden Boy Promotions and a lot of those of us in the media. And I had seen him a couple of times before that. This is my first time seeing him in person, really paying close attention. And he almost got knocked out in the first round. And I remember Stephen A., all of us looking around at Media Row going, what the heck is this all hyped about? This man can't take a shot. He's going to get drilled. He was lucky that the fight was over, that the round was over in round one, or there might have been some much more trouble. Stephen A., that was like, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago. I've never seen him wobbled, rocked, physically, visibly hurt since then. He has an all-time great chin going in the ring with tremendous punchers. Terence Crawford coming up 2 weight classes. Do any damage? Yeah, he's a slick boxer, and he's also a good puncher in the welterweight division, in the junior welterweight division, in the lightweight division. But even at junior middleweight, which is where Terence Crawford had his most recent fight back in August, when he moved up and he won a world title, he didn't blow the doors off. He fought a very tough, solid opponent named Israel Madrimov. He gave him a good fight. It was very close. Madrimov's people seem to think he might have even been able to edge it out. But if you can't hurt an Israel Madrimov at 154, what the heck are you going to do with Canelo Alvarez, the sturdiest guy in the world, at 168? So that aspect of it is certainly a problem. You mentioned about Charlo. Charlo was there to get his check. I know one thing about Terence Crawford. He's not going to just come to turn up to get the check. He'll at least try. And Charlo, I don't think, really tried.
One of Crawford's greatest assets is his ability to dictate the pace of a fight without relying solely on power. He breaks opponents down through precision, timing, and intelligence, switching between orthodox and southpaw to keep them off balance. This adaptability makes him a particularly difficult opponent for someone like Canelo, who thrives on imposing his physicality. If Crawford can maintain distance, avoid unnecessary exchanges, and capitalize on Canelo's slower footwork, he can neutralize the size disadvantage. In essence, Crawford's style is his weapon, one designed to frustrate and outmaneuver a power puncher.
It's somebody whose style is based around being the bigger guy, being the stronger guy. But Crawford is a very cerebral, very technical boxer, and I think that's why I'd never really considered this before. But also, I didn't actually realize until I sat down properly and thought about this, just how much weight Crawford has been piling on when he gets into the ring after the weigh-in. And look, these are not numbers that are out of the ordinary, but he's obviously cutting himself down so much in camp from whatever his walking around weight is. And it must be muscle that he's taking off. And perhaps that's why he's only fighting once a year, because there will be some fat, of course there will be, but the dude is not overweight. The dude still looks pretty ripped from what I've seen when he's not in training camp. However, there's not that many photos of him with his top off when he's not actually in training camp. So it's really hard to tell what his body composition is when he's walking around at these big weights. But the fact is, his fight night weight was 169 let's just call it 170 pounds, which is huge. Absolutely huge for a 154 pounder. Especially, it's just shocked me that he's come up from 135 and now he's still putting on that much weight. He's rehydrating that much at 154. And indeed, to bring us even closer to the modern day, the thing that was posted, and again, this is the second time we've seen this, is why I'm kind of thinking there's a bit of a theme here with Crawford posting his weight when he's not actually in full training camp. On February the 9th, 2025, he posted an Instagram story and he showed himself weighing 186 pounds on a gym scale. Now, that's so much bigger than I imagined Crawford would be. I never thought this guy would walk around 186 pounds, which for anyone who needs the conversion is just over 84 kilograms. And now look, it's not an unthinkable weight for someone, but for someone who has fought as low as Crawford has, who is generally as lean and as in shape as Crawford is, that's a lot.
Marcus Brown, who has spent considerable time training alongside Crawford, dismisses any suggestion that Crawford is intimidated by Canelo's physical presence. He points out that Crawford has regularly sparred with fighters much larger than himself, including some built like heavyweights, and has handled those sessions with composure. Brown highlights that Crawford's mental toughness is just as important as his physical preparation. In his view, this combination of experience, strategy, and resilience could be the key to surviving Canelo's power and finding a way to win.
Crawford. Typically fighters, they don't want to say who they want to go for because, they don't want to be biased. Yeah. And much respect to Canelo, but I'm going Bud.
Is there a particular reason why? Like, you're a guy that's moved up in weight, so you know exactly what it feels like getting hit by these bigger guys. Is that something that's going to play in the back of his head? Like,
of course.
Gotta watch out.
It is, but it's not. Because at the end of the day, it's not like he just been in there, got in there with somebody bigger than him. He's always probably been sparring with bigger guys, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's that boxing IQ, which, William Skull didn't put up no fight, but he showed somewhat of a blueprint to get this guy, in a space where he's confused. Yeah. And he can't touch the target that's in front of him. Yeah.
That's all for today's coverage. Stay tuned for more updates as the fight draws nearer, because if the tension and accusations are this intense now, the build-up to fight night is only going to get even more explosive.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more exciting videos, make sure to hit the bell icon and stay updated. Subscribe to Boxing Hub now for all the latest in boxing.